we're doing here is to put a comment, and the comment is you're going to write a program that is going to create a vector n with elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we need to have that vector. So we're going to create the vector n, and vector n should have elements 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so once we have created our vector here, then the next part is question 1 would say that we need to print out values that are 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 using that vector. So how do you think we can be able to do that? We come to yes, please.
Can you please come again on why we are working under the editor and not the command window?
Okay, so the command window, you write a line on a time. You can't run more than one line at the same time. But here we're going to run a lot of code at once before we run it. So the command window helps you just run one single line. But if you're writing a program, you need to have an editor, and then you use the command window to run that program. So we have moved away from using the command window alone. So we're going to be using the editor to write serious programs. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So we're having A. A is we need to print out values that are 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Someone wants to be admitted to the class. Okay. Okay, so we want to print out this. So how do we do that? From what we learned last time. So from what we learned last time, we're going to use an assignment statement. We're going to create a variable called x, and this variable x, we are going to assign it a value, but that value should be multiples of n. Should be multiples of n, and n we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so what we'll do here is to have x. Someone would want to be admitted in the class. Okay, so you have 2 times n. So we would want to generate these values. So that means we're going to get 2 times each of the values of n. That's why we're going to say 2 times n. Okay, so after doing that, then we're able to display. What do we use to display? From our previous class.
We use this DISP, small letters.
DISP function. Okay, so we use DISP function display, and then we display x. Someone wants to be admitted to the class. Okay. All right, so after doing this, then let's save our file and let's save it as so 2.3 or exercise 23.m. So I'm going to just go to File. I select Save. x23.n. But even if you don't put dot, here it is already an m. So we just say that. Okay, so see where you're going to load your files. My files are saved in this folder here. So there I can be able to say save. So you can be able to run your file directly here, or you go back to the command line and just clear your screen, CLC, and you call the name. It is ex23.m. Okay, let me see. Right, you don't put the extension. So when you run this, it will show you that the vector has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you're getting a multiple of that vector, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. That's one way of running your file, which you have written in Matlab. But also, you can just go back to the editor. Let me just clear the screen again. So in the editor, I'll just go to Run, Save File, and Run. So when I come back to the window, it will be able to display that for me here. Do you have the same results?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Are all following? So just a minute. Okay, so I hope everybody is okay. If you're not following up, just send a message in the comment section. You need to send a message in the comment section. I'll be able to read if you are not following up. So the next question was to produce numbers of 1 divided by 2, 1, 3 divided by 2, 2, 5 divided by 2 in that category. So what we need to do is we are going to get our values. What would we do?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Just a little bit back to what we were doing earlier.
Yes.
The result I'm having seems to be like a matrix, which is like 4 by 2 matrix.
Mm-hmm.
And
The result.
yet according to
the result.
According to the question, yes, the result when I check the command.
Yes.
But yet according to the question, I think we are supposed to have one row. Does it match
exactly when you see your output, it is outputting what is in n, but actual sense it is not. This is different. It would have aligned them in the same line, but it has output this as a different value of x. Okay, remember that n has become a value of x, but we have the value, it is just displaying this, but the actual output is the 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10.
Okay, I hope. Okay, that's fine. I thought it had implications as well.
Okay, if it was to be, let me just show you something. Some people are in waiting. Okay, let me just demonstrate something. If we had put something like this, we put a semicolon here, we know that that is um, one of the matrix, and then we say we want to have 2, 4, and 6, 8, and 10. Okay, so if I run this and I got the command line, you will see there will be a difference. Are you seeing that? That it will run these values corresponding with the other. Run the values corresponding with the other. So that's the difference, that this is another output because they are not corresponding with the other values. Okay, so this was the list, and then the next part we are doing is to output values, outputting values of 1 divided by 2, 1, okay, and then we have let me see how the setup is. 3 divided by 2, let me just copy this. So this is what we want to have. We want to have a half, 1, 3 divided by 2, 2, 5 divided by 2, continuous like that. So what we're going to do is, what do we need to do here? Remember, we have a variable, we have a vector n, and we have created a variable x that is carrying the vector n multiple. What are we going to do for part B?
I think we use n divided by 2.
Okay, so should we use still x? So we're going to say x is our variable. The value of x is going to change, and then we say n divided by 2. So n divided by 2, and then we can display x. We're displaying x. So let me just clear our command line and then be able to run, save file, and run. So we'll have our values like that. Okay, so we have 0.5, and then we have 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. So can you be able to do the next question? Question number 3. output in this format. How are we going to do it? Okay, can admit someone here. Okay, let's look at question number 3. Question number 3, we are supposed to print out values in this format. So what are we going to do here?
1 out of n.
Okay, 1 out of n. So let's try that and say if we have x being assigned a value of 1 divided by n, and then we display x. Okay, so if we went back to our command window, it will complain that there is a problem somewhere. Sorry, I messed out something. It was supposed to be x1 divided by n. Okay, so it will complain and it's saying the operator this is non-conformant argument that. So what are you supposed to do? What we needed to do is to put a dot. X is given a value of 1 dot divide by. Remember we talked about the dot operator when we are doing division or multiplication. Okay, you go back and visit your the previous class to understand when we talked about this. Okay, so let me first clean up my window and I'll run my file, and I hope to be able to give us the output. Okay, so it's able to give us our output here, which is 1, 0.5, 0.33, 0.2, 5, and 0.200. But there is another way you can do the same. You can do the same in a different way. Let's just try that different way. If I commented this, there's another way you can do that. We'll say x is assigned a value of n dot raised -1. So there we can be able to display x. So if I run and save the file, it will definitely give me the same result. Okay, so there are two ways you can be able to run the same file. The first way is for you to use this operator. The second way is for you to use this, the value. So whichever way it will give you the right the right values. Okay, so we have question number 3 and sorry, number 4, printing out values in this format. Okay, so would want to find out how to work out that, and for that we can literally do the similar way we did the first one. You're going to just change something small. You can say variable x is assigned a value of n dot raised to -2. So you can be able to display this. Display x.
Sir,
Yes.
why is it raised to -2 this time, yet it's literally the same function as the one we had up?
Why is it raised to the -2? Remember that here we're having it is the same because they're printing out 1. Let me see the question. Sorry, I did not copy the right question. The right question is this. The right question is you are printing out 1, 1/4, 1/9, 1/16, 1/25. Okay, and that's why you're making it raised 2, because this is like multiplying the inverse of n. You're raising the inverse of n. Is that clear?
So first do it the other normal way of the dot multiplier.
Of the dot multiplier. Okay. For the normal way, we would do it as n. We'll do it as 1 dot divide by, we are getting n, we're multiplying, actually we're dividing by n, but n is supposed to be double. You realize that? The denominator is a double because we have 4 being a double, and this should also be a double. Sorry, not a square. It's a square, not a double. So we have a square. So it's going to be divided by n, but this is going to be n squared. So n times n. Okay. So when we run our file, CLC, so n, we need to add the dot operator because we are squaring this. and then we're able to get our results here. 1, 0.25, 0.11, 0.62, that and that, because we're getting the inverse variable.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Is there a way to display them in fraction form?
Is there a way of displaying them in a fraction form?
Yes.
Okay, you need to check out that. I've not checked out that, but just try to check it out. Let's see if you can be able to display this in fraction form.
Yeah, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
When I look at number 7, I think number 6 as well, I don't really know, but could it be that maybe they require loops? And do you mind giving us an example of a loop? For example, how do you extract numbers from, let's say, an array? How do you extract 1 or 2 numbers? I think we've not yet done any example that involves a loop.
Loops, yes. We haven't done an example involving loops. Okay. Okay, we can go through that, but loops were for next week. But I can give you a heads up. But for now, I think you may use a loop, but does not require you to use a loop for now. I'll take you through number 6. Okay, I'll take you through number 6. And then we can move forward. Okay, I'm going to create another file. I just go to File, select New Script, and I'm going to call this question. This question says the identity matrix is a square matrix that has 1 on the diagonal and 0 elsewhere. You can generate 1 with the I function. Okay, so that means you're going to use a function called I in Matlab and use Matlab to find the matrix B such that when multiplied by this matrix A, the identity matrix should be 0, 0, semicolon, 0, 1, and that will be generated. So that is, if you multiply A and B, will be equal to I. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so what would we do? Let me call this exercise 6. And the first thing we need to do is to get our array A, given values of from our question, matrix A has this and that. Okay, so for us to get the values this way, then we will need to reverse this, and we use the I function. Let's try out that and see. we have 2 and 1, and then we have -1, 0. Okay, so we create I. I is created by a function I, and that function I, we are going to pass value 2. So B will have the values of I divided by A. So then we can be able to display displaying A. Sorry, B. So I'm going to save this as exercise to 6.m, and then I'll be able to run the file. So when I go back to be able to produce for me 0, -1, 1, 2. So we're talking about the diagonal. Okay, the question was saying, let me see our question. The identity matrix I is 0, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay, 0,
Sir,
1. Identity matrix we have the diagonal of I is going to give us 1, 0, 0, 1, and it's a 1, 1, and the 0, 0 in the diagonal.
sir,
Yes.
why did the I have a 2 assigned in the brackets? What's the 2 for?
Okay, so the 2 in the bracket is we are passing a value that we would want it to have. Is going to create an I of two elements. This is a 2 by 2 matrix. See that? It's a 2 by 2. So that's why we're passing 2 to I to give us the matrix identity with 2 by 2. So the identity is going to be 1, 0, 0, 1, which we get up here as our identity because it is going to be a 2 by 2. That's what we pass through
Sir,
as I. Yes?
sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Now, what if it's a 2 by 3? What do you assign the I with?
What if?
What if it's a 2 by 3? What do you assign the I with?
Okay. If this I function works with the equal matrix. It should be a 2 by 2 or a 3 by 3 or a 4 by 4.
Excuse me,
Okay.
sir.
Sir,
Yes, please.
sir,
Yes.
will the I function always produce ones and zeros like that? That's its
Yes.
default.
Yes. It will produce
Okay, sir.
that, and those the ones that you use for multiplication of your resultant matrix.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So if they say like you must use the I function,
Mm.
but you know that the inverse, rather the matrix you're looking for is simply the inverse matrix.
Mm.
instead of using the I function, you just create another variable and then call it the inverse of A, and you display that.
That will be okay, but that depends on the requirement that you need to do and how big is your array and what you require to do. But either way, there's no one way for you to handle in programming. There are different ways, so either way it can give you the right answer. But here we're trying to avoid using loops. Yes,
because the instruction says like you should use the I function, but yet you could also just say you create a variable and call it the inverse of A.
Inverse of A, that will be fine. But here
we display that.
Exactly. But here we are just using the I function. That's the instruction. Okay. But you can change the instruction and use creating an inverse. That will be fine. That okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So number 7 is going to be your assignment. The assignment you're doing for submission. Number 7 is your assignment for submission. Okay. Is there any other question? Someone has a question? So if there's no question, let's use the remaining minutes to introduce ourselves to something else. And okay, so let's just continue to now remaining time to look at graphs or graph plots in Matlab. Okay, so this lecture will help us to be able to create data sets and display simple XY graphs. But 2, you also be able to know the names of some basic Matlab functions and what they do. And 3, you'll be able to calculate some simple waveform and be able to apply waveforms and also save and load them from the disk or from the hard disk or from your storage. That's our main purpose of this lecture. Okay, so for us to look at the basics, we need to think about the basic plotting. So in the basic plotting, you need to look at creating a XY graph. So this is the easiest to form your data into 2 row vectors, creating an XY graph. You're going to create to form your data into X and Y graphs. So one for the X coordinates and the other one will be for the y coordinates. So in that way, you'll use a command or a function called plot, and then you pass the x coordinates and the y coordinates. For instance, if we would look at that, we'll be able to create values of x and then values of y, and we'll see how can be able to do that. Let's just try that on CLC. When I say x maybe is 5 or 6, and y is 7. So when I say plot and I pass x and y, it will be able to produce for me a graph. So it will be able to create the graph for me, but actually I've not created points or coordinates. I need to put coordinates on the plane to be able to plot for me. That's what we want to look at in this class. So you use a function plot for you to be able to plot. So you will then be able to create a figure with points at each y value for the each matching x value, and then you can control the style of any line that's drawn through the points by a third string that will argument that will be able to provide with the command the plot. We're going to also put in an aspect of style. Okay, the style you want to have. Okay, so you have the style in this sense, where you have x and y with its style. So here, where the style is made up from the characters as follows, you can just get the color strings, which are either C or M or Y or R or G, B, W. These are color strings that you can use. Where you want, which color do you want your graph to be shown in? Okay, so you can either want to correspond it, C will correspond to cyan, M will correspond to magenta, that will be a color, and Y to yellow, red, green, red, R red, G will be green, B will be blue, and of course W will be white, and K will be black. Okay, so that's the color string that you can be able to use. So this will help you to also produce a line style string with an underscore. This is a line style string for the solid lines, and on the dash for the dashed lines. If you want your plot to be solid lines, then you're going to use the lifestyles strings like that. If you want it dashed, you're going to use this. Okay, and then the full colony will be for the dotted, and this one here will be for the dash dotted. You want to have a dash and then dotted. And then of course, if you don't want to have a line, you just put none, and none will be for none. We shall demonstrate that in an example, and we'll see. Okay, so the markers here, the marker types here are the plus, or the star, which is a multiplication, and the X, and then the field mark types will be S for square, and then D for diamond, and then of course this raised up for triangle, and then this down will also be down triangle. This one here will show for right triangle, and this will be a left triangle, and P will be for pentagram, and H will be for hexagram, and none will not have any marker there. For example, we have X having values of 1, 2, 3, 4, and Y having 10, 15, 20, 25. So we can be able to plot that. Let's try to do that. Okay, we're going to write our new file. Let me just close this. I go back to our window. I'm just going to clear my window. The command is always CLC for you to clear your window. Go back to the editor, and I'm going to create a new script, and we have X given values of, let me just increase this for all of you to see. X being given a value of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this is a vector. Then we also have the y coordinates will be given value of 10, 15, 20, I can start with 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. Okay, so the next part we need to do is to do our plot. We said we need to have the XY and then the style. So I will just come here and say plot. So when the plot, we have different plot functions. We have plot and then plot 3. Okay, we'll be looking at these ones all through these lectures. So we're going to, let's use plot. And on this plot, we're going to have X and Y, those being our coordinates. If I took you a little back, we said on the previous slide here, you are able to get the line style, either dash, but before you need to get the color string. So the color string, you can either get cyan, magenta, any of these colors, or using the RGB combination. Okay, so we can get on any of these, and G will stand for green. That's what we would want to use. And then we have the line style space, the line style string. We can use n of the line style that we would want to have. But we're going to first of all use a solid line. Okay, then we can try out others. But also for the marker, we're going to use all. We said all. We have plus, or, star, and X, and they are field type markers, S for the square, and then we have D for the diamond, and many other styles. So you can be able to use a star for now. Can be able to use a star for now. So what we're going to do is we come and pass another parameter here, which is going to be a string of the color. We are taking green with the line space going to be solid, and the marker should be a star. Then we close. Okay, so we'd want to plot for every y coordinate value should correspond with the x value, and then do a plot on our graph. So I'm going to save this, go to file and say save as. Let me call it plots, and should be .m because it is a MATLAB file. Then click save. All right, so the next thing is for me to go and run, save file and run. I'll have my graph shown, which is running as a diagonal file, because wherever we have y value, it is corresponding with x. Wherever we have a y, corresponds with x. Okay, these are our plots, and it has created a straight line that increases as y increases, x increases, or as x increases, y increases. Okay. Yes,
Excuse me a second.
Yes, please.
Can you first repeat the saving process and run? I've gotten lost somewhere there.
Okay, so what you're going to do is you just go to file. If you're going to save this, and then you select save as. Of course, you need to know where your files are being saved on your computer, and then you give it a name. For me, I call it plots. Okay, and then you'll be able to click save, and it will be saved. So after saving your file, then you go to run, and then select save file and run here. Then you can be able to have it. Or you just go to the command line or to the command window. You can be able just, let me see, we have our file. My file, I call it plots. So you can just run on the command line plots and press enter to be able to run and generate for you the graph. So either way, you can run it using the editor or you can run it at the command window.
Sir, as I'm not seeing my graph, my
You're not seeing your graph? Is it not generated?
yes, I'm not seeing it, but the same dimensions. I've put everything, but nothing is appearing.
Okay, can you be able to share? Let me stop sharing and share your screen.
I know, sir, I'm using a phone, but then the laptop is being used for the work. I can't share.
You can't share the screen
Yes, please.
because I wanted to see where your problem is.
I know it's not
What
appearing. I was just asking, like, why isn't it not appearing?
it should be it should be appearing. You just check. Probably since you're using a you're running it on the okay. Aidan has been able to run. So when you run yours, what happens?
And mine.
It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you see, run. I already saved it, so now I'm running it and nothing happens.
Okay, what you should do? What you should
And
do?
when I got the command window and I press plot,
Um,
that brings
Can I
that.
also share mine? I think just in line with what Michael is talking about,
mm,
I could also just share.
okay, you share and say.
Are you guys able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh. Oh. Just a second. Somehow the share button is not highlighting. I don't know why. But actually what it's trying to say is that when you get to the command window
Mm,
and you put what you instructed us, it displays other things except the graph.
okay, you are not able to share when you click the share button.
Yes, I have, but somehow that blue share thing is not highlighting. That blue thing that says share.
Because
Okay,
I
so
needed
yes,
to,
I think
I
here we
needed
go.
to look at
Are
it.
you able to see it?
Yeah, now it's able to come.
Yeah, I think. All right, so
Okay, let's first go to you take us to your file.
this,
Yes, it has been able to show. That's the graph.
yeah, this is the graph.
That's the graph, yes. So yours is able to run. You can run it again and
No,
then
that was in the editor section. That was in the editor, not in
in the command. You first close.
the command window.
You first close the figures there. You close that figure and go back to your edit.
Okay, are you able to see that? Are you seeing
Yes,
that?
yes. So you have
So
This is the command window, right?
yeah, this is the command window.
Yeah. So you first clear. You first clear the screen.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And then what's the name of your file? You call it plots, right?
Yes, I called it plots.
Yeah. You type plots there on the command window.
Okay. Plots.
Then enter.
Yeah, it has displayed.
It's able to run, right?
Yeah,
I
it's been
think
able
Mike
to.
also you had the same problem, but it should be running.
Sir, I've seen how you can do it. You tap on the icon down on the taskbar.
Yes.
It is down that side. You will see the main program plus the figure 1. I've seen where it is located.
Okay, great. Are others also following? Anybody has an issue?
Yes, I refuse to run.
Okay, you share your screen. Okay, you first go back to your editor. Can you hold down your control? Are you using a laptop?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, you hold down your control key
Yeah.
and move your mouse and scroll. I would
Scroll.
want you to
Yeah.
increase the font. I want to say
Oh.
you had not closed, right? There's
Close
an
what?
error. There's a plot XY. You have not closed. You opened a single quote and you have not closed. G dash
Hello?
star should be a closing good there before
Oh,
you see that.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Someone else has an issue. Yeah, someone is asking if they'll be able to rewatch this. Yes, I've recorded it, so you'll be able to have this. Okay, so let's try out one more example. Let's try out one more example for today. Okay, so okay, so let's look at another example as we wind up today's class. So we want to have an example here. We want to create a line plot as a vector line with the values 0. We want to plot between x having values of 0 to pi divided by 100 to
You
2
forgot to share your
times pi,
screen.
right? Let's just
It seems you've forgotten to share your screen.
oh, sorry. Okay, so let me just change this. We would want to do something. Let me say the question is create x as a vector of linearly spaced values this is create. Okay, of linearly spaced values that are between 0 and 2 pi. Let me just take this to the next line and say use an increment of pi divided by 100 between the values. So create y as a sign value, create y as sign values. That should be a full stop. Can I go to the next and say create y as sign values of x. So then create a line plot of the data generated. Okay, do you get the question? We want to create x as a vector of linearly spaced values. Those values should be between pi and between 0 and 2 pi. And then we shall use an increment of pi divided by 100 between the values. Okay, so then we shall be able to create y as a sign as sine values of x, then we'll be able to plot our data that we have generated. So I'm going to set x to be those values we said should be between 0, because our question says the value should be between 0 and 2 pi. Okay, so I'll have 0 and I put full colon, 2 pi.
Chef, can you zoom in on your screen?
Is that better?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, so I'm having, if you scroll, you want to have values between 0 and 2 pi. So I have created x having values between 0 and 2 pi. So the next part says use an increment of pi divided by 100 between the values. So I'm going to have an increment between 0 and 2 pi. And that increment is going to be pi divided by 100, 2. So we are generating our values here. If you're able to see that, let me just first comment this to prove that we have the values here. I comment this also and be able to run our file, save and run. On the command window, let's see. Okay, we are not able to see because I've not displayed. Let me first display the values. I'll need to display x for me to find out. Display x to see the values that are generated. So you can save and run. Come to the command. You will see the values that we have generated that we are going to plot against. Okay, so that's from 0 to about 7.
Yes, sir.
You see, you have the values?
I have a question.
Yes.
How did you do that thing where you turned the Y values into that percentage thing and they became green?
Here. This
Yes.
one's here.
Yes.
Okay, on your keyboard there is a percentage sign.
Yes.
When you press that sign, I think it is shift. You press shift and that sign to be shown. That makes it a
Yes.
comment.
Yes.
Are you able to clear that?
Yes.
Okay, so that means that we are making this line here to be a comment. So Matlab will not interpret that line. Whenever it finds this symbol, it will not interpret that. That will be a comment that you are putting for you to understand what you are doing.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Perfect. So, okay, so we have our data, and then the next part we need to do is for us to be able to get the y. So I'm going to get this. I'll put it down here. I'm going to have y. For our question, we said
Wagwe simama.
you create y as a sine value
Yeah.
of x. We are creating y as a sine values of x. So we're going to have y using the sine function. So it will be sine of x. So for us to check y,
Y sine of x display y.
and then be able to run. Okay. Sine is without a. So about that. Without a, and let me clear my window. CLC. So if I run this, I go to the command, I'll be able to generate also the values of y. Okay, they go up to -0, 0. Okay, so now we have our data created. So the next thing we need to do is for us to do a plot. So what we're going to do is to go back to our editor and we plot. We are plotting x and y. Maybe we can make this to be what? Blue. Blue is what? Color string blue is B. So you just put B, that. So when we save and run the file, we'll have a plot in that sense. Okay, so that's how we can be able to do plots. Of course, we shall continue from here on Friday, and then be able to appreciate a little more about plots and what you can do. Except someone has a question, I want to bring this to a close. I have a recording. I always find trouble to upload on Moodle, but I'm going to upload these recordings for you, for people to view later.